We're up here in Los Feliz Estates with Ed Faktorovich of Figure 8, the listing agent on this wonderful home by the architect Amir Farr. And I don't know that much about him. Maybe Ed, tell us what you know.
Yeah, Amir did his work in Los Angeles in the 70s. He built this house in 73 and he did another one in Beverly Hills, a much larger estate. The architecture that he was utilizing was Brutalism mixed with fascist architecture. As one of my architect friends referred to it, this would be very Brazilian, but effectively he built a glass and steel house with a brick veil. So from the outside, it looks like a brick monolith, but the true nature of the house is glass and steel, mid-century, postmodernism.
What this was in the 40s, it was a response to modernism and the stripping away of detail and the kind of Miesian glass boxes. And the Italian architects did, it was the Museum of Italian Culture, I think, that you see referenced by Edward Durrell Stone, the New York architect, in the Beverly Hills Bank building with the arches, which was sort of a direct quotation of this museum in Rome, which itself was sort of a direct quotation of the arches repeating in the Colosseum. And so there was this return to classicism in the Neoformalist genre, which I find to be really exciting.
Should we go inside and take a look?
Let's check it out.
So we're here at the front entry of the house. And for me, this house, a lot of it I'm getting the word transparency, because when you're looking through the skylight here and this big window here, and then some of the bedrooms, you can get glimpses of those arches, but then you're getting city views. And you made a great point here that from this corner here, you're looking out through the front entry there, and you're getting those views through the iron, what are they, the iron works that?
Correct. You know, these stairs, the way they curve, it's the welcome committee, the belle of the ball. As people enter, you kind of come down and do your grand reveal.
Yeah, this is a really dramatic space, and I kind of like the fact that it's relatively anonymous from the street. There aren't any windows in this brick wall other than the metalwork of this arched entry, which clearly reads entry. But then when you walk in and open the doors, you get this two-story volume with that linear skylight and this enfilade view. This is such a comfortable stair to walk on too. Sometimes spiral stairs can feel really tight, where this just feels like it was designed to my gait.
A lot of the times we see these kind of beautiful wood ceilings get painted over, and I'm glad that that's not the case here, because I mean, just look how striking it is against the skylight.
Yeah, and in fact, when we got here, when the current owner purchased the house about 11 years ago, she ended up hiring Dennis Smith from Buff and Hensman, and a lot of the wood had been deteriorated, so it needed to thoughtfully be freshened up and or replaced to look original.
It really does. Sometimes we see remodels that are heavy-handed, where people come in and introduce new elements that feel really incongruous with the old. And so I think your client was really smart going with a mid-century modern master like Smith to supervise the selection of finishes, because it feels, I'm asking myself questions about, is that original or is that new? And that's a good thing to me. And then you just hit these arches and the pool through the primary suite.
I mean, this primary and the arches in here, remarkable.
So what I'm struck with in here is the sophisticated sense of scale and proportion that is clearly architect designed, contrasting this with most homes in America being designed by builders. There's something about this floor plan in the primary bedroom that feels to me to be almost exactly the golden section, that special rectangle. And I can't quite articulate it, but it's subtle and I can perceive it subliminally, together with the exciting geometries of these repetitive arches and the views beyond. I mean, to me, that's the difference between architecture and building.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's small moments where these structural columns here are lining up perfectly with the in-between of the arches, and so they're all lined up all the way down.
That's a really nice detail.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad you pointed that out. I didn't pick up on that. Yeah, let's check out that study. That's one of my favorite spaces in the home.
Agreed about the study. Whenever I walk through a house, I always like to figure out where in the house does someone make the actual decision that, yes, this is my house. And after walking this house a good dozen times or so, I decided that it's right up here.
just the material choices and the materials side by side, like the wood here along, again, that brick being, the ceiling being pulled off of the brick. Look at this like little detail here of just putting in that vertical siding and along with the brick. I mean, it adds that extra layer of thoughtfulness.
And then you've got this connection both horizontally and vertically. So horizontally, we have this connection to the outdoors. Every room is connected to nature, but then vertically within the house, you've got this fireplace chimney element of brick that leads your eye down from the study to the living area, which is pretty dynamic. Want to go down there and check it out?
Yeah, let's check it out.
Okay.
For some reason, I envision myself taking a nice little nap here.
The more time I've spent here, I just really kind of got into the architect's head a little more, you know, and he really left no detail untouched. And so even the way that the brick was created to create the circular pattern for the staircase, it almost creates a honeycomb pattern, which, you know, is just one of those things that like so thoughtful and just so like, you know, something that only a master would really consider doing, you know.
And then if we turn around, we're up against this really beautiful bar here. I love this wood feature down below.
The elements to me are this cantilevered formica, you know, which thank you to the current owner for having the wisdom to retain the formica, you know. Pretty narrow, floating in space above this radiused wood form with these wonderful, you know, stainless steel or chrome legs holding this whole bar up. Then you've got this connection to the expanded living room and then into the dining room and into the kitchen. So there's a very functional open plan.
Before I meet you on this side, we've got the classic compression and release.
Our favorite phrase. Exactly. You got an 8-foot tall ceiling here and you pop out into this 2-story space. And then it's really interesting because here's your Mesian glass and steel box within the neoclassical brick envelope. You know, you've got, these are, you know, maybe 6-inch structural steel tubes with, I think, either I-beams run at the 2nd story and roof line. And so if you didn't have that exterior neoclassicism going on, this would be like a Mesian glass and steel box, which you had mentioned.
When you look at it, it's not necessarily a part of the inner framework of the house. It's only a micro portion of that. So you just have an interior, industrial looking home that gives you full exposure and then connects to the organic nature outside.
Pretty spectacular spot. And it's like that combination of the site in the park with the views and then this really dramatic architecture. And, you know, I enjoyed hearing you gasp as you came to this spot and saw that. And I feel like I'm gasping as I see this enfilade view of the arched columns and the Mesian box, you know, on the left side, just straight to that door. There are a lot of these strong alignments. The hallway's the same way, that you get this kind of formal enfilade view to a single vanishing point, which I feel like, you know, we keep having these like, oh my God, like, oh my God moments here.
And it's so smart to put the arches on this side because that's where you've been here at Sunsets. Is that how the sun travels? All right, so we are architecture brokers. We help people buy and sell architecture. And this place is for sale. You want to give us some of the metrics on the home?
The house is a 5-bedroom, 5.5 bath. Most of the bedrooms have ensuite. It is 4,220 square feet. The actual lot size is 0.63 of an acre. So you get plus or minus somewhere around 30,000 square feet of land. That said, you get views in all directions. You get a nice flat area to use. You get an orchard too, which hopefully someday, or the next buyer will try and do some Los Feliz wines out of it. It has enough to probably start a mini vineyard, boutique one. The owner's note is, please let the clients know not to underestimate the amazingness of the pool. For whether you're just trying to like frolic and have a party or swim laps. It's definitely oversized based on today's standards. She puts solar panels in, so it's just constantly heated at whatever temperature you want. You know, effectively, as mentioned before, the glass and steel box with a brick privacy veil.
What's the price point?
Price point, we're listed at just shy of 5 million, 4.995.
Okay.
This is a great experience. You know, we've got more than 180-degree views. I'm looking at Library Tower and the other skyscrapers downtown, the Wilshire Corridor, Palos Verdes, Baldwin Hills, the ocean, Los Feliz, Griffith Park, and just about, if we go back to that spot, the observatory. So it's quite a panorama up here.
That was a great description and a great way to end the video. Nice job. Thank you for having us, Ed.
High five, and thanks for your
Yeah,
hospitality.
cheers. I'm stoked you guys came through. Thank you
Yeah.
for coming.
Appreciate it.